And to finish, the Protestant Reformation and the Scientific Revolution piece, this will take just a couple minutes. So the Protestant Reformation was challenged to the Catholic Church, sets off a number of religious wars in Europe, which is happening at the same time as the European expansion to the Americas. So Europe's very busy with the Atlantic slave trade, with the Columbian Exchange, with colonization, with global trade, with their colonization of the Americas and their export of silver, the global economy, and then also the Protestant Reformation, and then something else called the Scientific Revolution is all going on in Europe. So before we get to the Scientific Revolution, one quick note on the Protestant Reformation. One major outcome of the Protestant Reformation, besides the fracture of the Catholic Church and this new development of Protestantism, is the rise of literacy rates. So the way it used to be before the Reformation was that the Catholic Church had printed the Bible only in Latin. So if you couldn't read Latin, you couldn't read the Bible. And if you couldn't read the Bible, you had to depend on a priest to pretty much explain everything to you. But with the arrival of the printing press from China in the 1500s, and Luther's insistence that people read the Bible for themselves and interpret Christianity for themselves, literacy rates really soar in Europe. Each version of the Bible is able to be printed in each country's vernacular language, which means like the native language of a country. So in Germany, for example, where Luther was from, the Bible was able to be translated and printed in German instead of Latin. So it was much easier to read. And this also greatly reduced the need for priests and reliance on priests, and actually cut out the Pope entirely. Protestant Church does not recognize the Pope at all. After that, after the Scientific Revolution, after the Protestant Reformation, there is the Scientific Revolution. It was definitely enabled by the Reformation because you had scientists like Galileo, who you probably have heard of, Nicholas Copernicus, Sir Isaac Newton. They disproved a lot of popular theories that were taught by the church about the world and the universe. So, first of all, Copernicus, probably the biggest one, discovered that and proved that the sun was the center of the universe, not the earth. This theory is known as heliocentrism. This is in direct contrast to the geocentrism that is taught by the Catholic Church that states that the earth was the center of the universe. That was proved not to be true. They also proved that gravity and other natural forces, this is like Isaac Newton now, that like gravity dictates the way things happen in the world. There are natural forces on the earth that dictate the events in the world, and not supernatural forces. So not everything happens because a God or gods says it is that way or makes it that way. These scientists kind of prove that there's just rational occurrences that are controlled by natural earthly events. And then lastly, Galileo, he creates a telescope and he proves the existence of sunspots. So the sun and the solar system now are not these perfect, unblemished things. There's imperfections. There's sunspots. There's blots on the sun that are not pretty to look at. You can see that through the telescope. So basically what this did is this got these thinkers in big trouble with the Catholic Church. Some of them were excommunicated, they were put on trial, and this further decreased the power of the Church and opened them up for questioning. Although one interesting thing is that these these scientific thinkers actually were major devout Christians, and they actually did not question God's existence, they just questioned the Church teachings. So, big takeaway also is that both of these things happening during this time period in Europe decreased the power of the church and opened the way for the enlightenment of the modern era, which I'll tell you about in the next lecture. All right, guys, good luck. Think about also, before you leave, before you start taking notes, what's significant with the Protestant Reformation and the Scientific Revolution? What's the major significance of those things? All right, guys. Good luck studying. You're the best. Let me know if you have any questions.